One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
For my people that don't get to see me, trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people, and this classic Bible teaching say, make this for my people that don't get to see me, trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people, and this classic Bible teaching, motivation.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit.
Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio.
That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
I'm attorney Clinton Paris, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being heard.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loot machine.
A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Coles Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Today's menu looks like this. Charles Edmond, co-host for 1 hour. He'll join me very shortly. Then following Charles Edmond will be Jim Kleinpeter. He covers Southern University athletics for the Advocate. And then in hour number 2, Willa Brown scheduled to join us. And then last but not least, Brandon B.J. Jones of Inside HBCU Football. He'll join us on today's show. Here's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. Southern University Board of Supervisors, they approve a contract for Coach Kevin Johnson, the new men's basketball coach at Southern University, now officially. Has been approved, and we'll get a little bit more into those details of the contract. I find it very interesting, and I'll share that information with you. In Southern University baseball, last night in extra innings, they defeat Grambling State 6-5. The Jaguars baseball season, they've been kind of inconsistent, or consistently inconsistent, but they get a big victory in extra innings over the league leading of the Western Division, the Grambling State Tigers. The NCAA Football Committee, they have recommended and announced some changes for football. Wait till you hear about those changes and kind of get your feedback and thoughts on it. That's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. Now we'll be joined by Charles Edmond. Charles, good morning to you, sir.
Pleasure to be with you on another good Saturday.
Well, as we look outside, sunshine, beautiful sunshine here in Baton Rouge. That was not the case yesterday. So I'm assuming now that all sporting events, not like last Saturday, they're going to go on as scheduled. How's the weather in Lorman, Mississippi?
We got softball today. I'll be doing softball at 1 o'clock. It's a little on the coolish side. The wind is blowing. It seems like for baseball and softball on our campus, the wind is always a factor. But a beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky, a little bit of nip in the air. We kind of expected that, but we'll get everything in today and maybe tomorrow. I think some rain's supposed to be coming in at least around here sometime tomorrow. Hopefully we can get one game in tomorrow.
Well, that's good news. And when we look at the weather, not only does it affect everyday lives, but also sporting events. So we're glad to kind of have at least a window of opportunity. Guests today, Charles Edmond, Jim Kleinpeter, Willa Brown, and BJ Jones. Gonna take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll get the discussions. We'll look at the trending stories that I just mentioned here on the Coles Brown Show. So we'll be right back. You're watching the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Now, you can live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant-quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Welcome back to the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Coles Brown joined by Charles Edmond. Charles, the Southern University Board of Supervisors approves a contract for Coach Kevin Johnson. Now, here's the particulars. If I would have printed out everything, it would have been 2 or 3 pages long. So for the sake of time, Kevin Johnson, 4-year contract, 4-year. Good morning, Edwin. Here on YouTube in the chat box. Good morning to everyone who's watching. Kevin Johnson, 200,000, 4 years with a 1-year option, and that's held by the board. And of course, Coach Johnson has the option to accept. Now, there's some incentives in there: a month's salary if you win the SWAC regular season championship, SWAC tournament championship. That's a month's salary. So you do 200,000 divided by 12, and then you kind of get the figure of 1 month. Then the coaching staff, Coach Johnson has the authority to hire 5 assistants. Now, I'm wondering how many assistants did the previous coach have, Coach Woods? I thought it was maybe, I'm going to say 4. So he gets 1. So Coach Johnson gets paid more than the previous coach, has the standard incentives, and then also he's able to hire 5 assistants. Charles Edmond, that is a upgrade and investment in Coach Kevin Johnson, who I have put in to have him on this show, and I'm still working on that. But interesting information.
I say thumbs up to Roman Banks. I like the terms of the deal. I like the 4 years with that 5th-year option. I think that's fine. No problems with that. The salary, I don't know what Sean Woods made, but Kevin Johnson's going to make, and my guess is he's making more than Sean Woods was making, which you kind of expect.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. So I have no problems with the salary. I think it's very competitive in terms of the top tier teams. You look at Texas Southern and Johnny Jones, close to $250,000. You're right there, kind of in the ballpark a little bit. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with the years. I don't have a problem with the number of coaches on staff either. I think you have to have, and I think that's something that needs to be talked about a little bit more. I think to be successful, I think you have to have anywhere from 4 to 5, maybe 6 coaches: director of basketball ops, travel coordinator, strength and conditioning. You have to have your own, and I think that's going to happen. I think, the folks that are going to work there, as far as the assistant coaches, are going to be dealing with nothing but men's basketball to help build that product. So I have no problems with any aspect of the contract. So now it's just time for Coach Johnson to get to work. Good salary. He's going to have a quality staff. Who he keeps, who he retains from the previous staff, we don't know. The other issue is how many players will remain, how many will stay, how many will hit the portal. That's yet to be determined. I'm sure, that's going to come out here shortly now that he has his feet on the ground in terms of all the language. So, hey, I have no problems with any aspects of the contract at all. Competitive. And now it's just time for him to get to work. He's already behind a little bit. So now he's got to hit the ground running with all those other particulars taken care of.
Well, he has already got a couple of commitments, so he's off to a great start. One young man, and I'll pull it up in a second, played locally at Scotlandville High School. Originally signed with Austin P. He led in JUCO scoring. He led the nation. So he's a local product. And then that gets me to wondering, on his staff, we do know who is his head basketball coach when they won the state title a couple of years ago, and that's Coach Carlos Sample. Rumors are just running amok. They're flying all over the place. Hadn't been able to confirm anything, but let's see if Carlos Samples, former head basketball coach at Scotlandville High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, former Southern alum, let's see if he's going to be on that staff. But the contract is good because, we've had this discussion before about 3 versus 4 versus 5 years. And, some of my colleagues didn't understand or didn't agree with the way Southern University had put out, those type of contracts. Usually and from what Coach Banks has done in the past, Charles, you've seen 3-year contracts. You'll see 5 years, but they'll put them on the back end. So the last hire in football, Coach Dooley, 4-year contract. Coach Johnson, 4-year contract with option. So that is now where Coach Banks and that university is trending as far as getting those type of contracts. And so they can't do anything but help. As you stated now, Coach Johnson just has to get to work. And I have the confidence that, looking at his resume, just my opinion, I think he gets the job done. What kind of time frame? He's got 4 years. How much improvement will you see in the first couple of years? I say let's take a look after the second year and just kind of see where the basketball program is trending. He has some incentives to get some things done, but we got to wait and see what staff he puts together. But he's gone in the transfer portal, and he's gotten 2 players already. So he's getting to work. So comparable, you mentioned to maybe someone asked me in salary in the top 4, top 3. I'm pretty confident saying it's at least in the top 3. So that's all you can look at. And of course, Coach Banks, the athletic director, he's now made some hires, and now we'll just have to see how it works out. Football, basketball, and now they've made also some hires in the golf program that we hopefully be able to talk to the head coach or coaches there. So interesting to say the least, but I'm happy with the contract, and I'm sure Coach Johnson is happy.
I think it's going to be an intriguing situation because if you look at Southern University basketball, we've talked about where Southern basketball is right now, depending on who you talk to. It in Charles Edmond's eyes, top 4 program. So you're taking over a top 4 program in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. You don't know how many coaches you're going to keep. You're going to bring in a whole new staff, clear the decks, how many players are going to stay. I think it's going to be an interesting year in terms of, is the program going to remain at least at 4, top 4, maybe move up? I talked with our coach, Landon Bussey, the other day. He was at our baseball game, and he said with the transfer portal, he believes the word immediate is definitely the case for a lot of these programs because you have so much talent in the transfer portal to where you can immediately improve your program. And so some of the players that have already hit the portal in some of our programs. One is coming back. PJ Henry, one of the top players for Texas Southern, is now coming back to Texas Southern, it appears. He was in the portal. Now he's back at Texas Southern. But there's a lot of talent out there for him to choose from. There's a lot of talent out there to get better. You have to, you still got to deal with APR. I was talking with the coach today about that. You still got to deal with APR and these players that are leaving, the graduation status and all that. You want to make sure that those players are on track to graduate because if not, it's going to be a ding to your APR. You don't want to go through that again. That was on pause due to COVID, but I think now that's no longer the case. You still got to get your APR numbers still have to be there, still have to be up to avoid the postseason ban and all that. So there's a lot in the bag to pull out of. There's a lot in the bag to deal with if you're a first-year coach. But he's taken over a program that, in my opinion, top 4 program. The question is, does he keep the talent that's there? How many are going to want to stay? How many are willing to stay? How many are going to buy in? And if not, then you're going to probably be hearing in the next couple of weeks or longer, players are going to hit the portal. They signed a couple, as you mentioned. One is already, I think, it was in the portal that I read about. I don't know if any more. Maybe not. Maybe he sold some of those guys that are going to be coming back. Who knows? We'll see. But I think clearly him coming in, hitting the ground running, I think it's a good hire for Southern, a good hire in terms of getting players in state, in the state of Louisiana, coming from a program that's fairly decent. I mean, Tulane's a solid program when they get the talent in there. So he knows what that looks like. He knows what it tastes like. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to work for Southern and how it's going to translate into the conference in terms of how the conference is going to look like. Texas Southern's retooling, even though they're getting some transfers in. Grambling, you haven't heard a lot about Grambling, what they're doing. Of course, the Braves, they're retooling for sure. So I think it's going to be very intriguing to see where Southern is in that pecking order And I'm looking forward to seeing what Coach Johnson is going to do as he is now going to hit the ground ready to go.
And with Coach Funches, women's basketball coach, I think you'll see an extension on his contract because 2023 SWAC Women's Tournament champion. So, hey, I believe in rewarding them when you hit benchmarks, and that definitely was a benchmark. What Coach Fontes and his staff and team has done. So I'm sure he will be rewarded in some kind of way, whether it was extension, bonus, or both. And he really deserves it. Let's move on. Southern baseball in extra innings over Grambling State 6-5. Charles, and I did pull up the baseball standings and the softball standings for Southwestern Athletic Conference, but an extra inning. And this baseball team, boy, some of the Southern alum and fans, you thought they were kind of tough or feeling a certain type of way with the football team. Well, with the baseball team as well. And, talking to some of my colleagues, the two programs in the conference that have underachieved or has been disappointing, and I guess it's debatable, but I think we win this debate, Jackson State and Southern University. But a 6-5 win over Grambling State. Grambling State still top team in the Western Division. But Southern University, right there in the mix. But this season has been it's been interesting. They have been disappointing. That word has been used consistently inconsistent. Coach Crenshaw got ejected in the game not too long ago, and you kind of can see the frustration. Now is the time to try to turn it on. And you don't like to say that, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. But guess what? They've got to start playing consistently, getting much better, because the SWAC baseball tournament is right around the corner. So a big win over Grambling State, 6-5 in extra innings. They'll play game 2 this afternoon. But, man, big victory. Hopefully they can build on it.
Yeah, I mean, I read the article about the come from behind win, and can you say that they're the cardiac Jags? When you count them out, they find a way to scratch and claw, and so a win like that last night can propel you. I mean, you got a lot of baseball in front of you. You still got perhaps a makeup with Texas Southern, which did not get played in the middle of the week, which I was not surprised because I think Coach Crenshaw wanted to save what he had for this weekend, knowing that any shot at maybe winning the Western Division is going to come down to this weekend against Grambling, a team that's right there at first, near the top of the standings. So I think, I understand why he didn't want to play Texas Southern. He probably feels like, I'm in the tournament. If I have a shot to win the division later on, we can play Texas Southern later on. But yeah, I mean, that was a good win for them. I agree with you. I think Jackson and Southern are clearly disappointing. I think Jackson, albeit more so disappointing, Jackson hasn't been the same team since they went 24-0 a couple of years ago and got knocked out in the championship game. They haven't been the same team since. I don't know what's going on there with Omar Johnson and that team. Jackson usually is one of the top hitting teams in the conference, if not in the country. They like to steal a lot of bases. But their pitching has always been suspect when you get into their bullpen. So I don't think any of that's working for them right now. And so I think it's, as they say, the chickens are coming home to roost a little bit for them, and Omar Johnson has to retool. It's been a few years since he's been up there, didn't win. I think that 24-0 year, if they had won the tournament as well as the 24-0 season, I think Coach Johnson probably would be fine. And some would say he probably is fine with all the regular season tournament titles he's won. I would think he may be okay, but Ashley Robinson's a different type of AD. Is what have you done for me lately? And so I don't know. I mean, Omar Johnson's done well there, but he hasn't done well lately, and that's what a lot of Jacksonians are probably looking at. And for Southern University, I mean, for a team that lost to Alabama State last year, it's been a disappointing season all the way around. And so, but I'll say this, and we talked about it a little bit last week. What does the regular season mean? They're kind of stumbling and fumbling through the regular season. But then you get hot in a month going to Atlanta because you're going to make the tournament most likely. Braves lost last night. So probably, you have a chance to move up. You're probably not going to fall out of the top 4. So if you get hot, get some players healthy, get on a little bit of a roll going to Atlanta, you could possibly make some noise. But I think it's going to be tough with Bethune and Florida A&M tearing it up in the East. I think it's going to be tough. But the postseason in the SWAC, we've seen upsets. The number 8 seed wins the SWAC basketball tournament. The best team on the women's side, Jackson State, didn't get there. So you can make the case that the SWAC baseball tournament and the softball tournament could be wide open. So if Southern gets hot, then Crenshaw gets hot, the team gets hot, and then who knows? People are not going to be talking about this in 5 weeks. But that's not the case right now. Southern is struggling. They just got by their arch rival after trailing. And so a lot of baseball in front of you, and you just got to build on it, and we'll see if Southern does that here, if they do that here today.
Well, let me respond to a couple of those comments. Cardiac kids, I don't like that term. And you know why I don't like it? Because that means, hey, you think you could turn it on, and you hadn't turned it on, you hadn't been consistent all season. Omar Johnson, just my opinion. He's done well as a head baseball coach. And yeah, you could be disappointed, but I don't think he's in trouble or should be. I mean, you know Ashley Robinson better than I do. I mean, I've met him. And I do know ADs have a tough job. If they turn it on and do well in the tournament, that's one thing. But if they don't, and the way they've played the whole season, they play that way in the tournament. Let's say they go 0-2 and they're out. I think based on what he's done in the past, he should be given the opportunity to correct a season that didn't go well. So I just want to say that with Coach Omar Johnson. As a Southern alum and a Southern fan, Coach Crenshaw, I mean, you can just be disappointed, but you can look at last year in extra innings to losing in the championship game to Alabama State, then the previous year winning it, following behind Coach Kerry Jackson, who did well. Same scenario. If this season ends in a disappointing fashion, yeah, you'd be disappointed. But do you overreact? In both cases, no. You give them the opportunity to get have a better season. But it's still some baseball left to be played. If we look, Charles, in the Eastern Division, FAMU 14-3 overall in conference play. Alabama State 13-3. Bethune-Cookman 11-3. Then Jackson State 4-12. Alabama A&M 3-11, and Mississippi Valley State 2-15. Now that's according to the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Baseball in the Eastern Division. Our hottest team, of course, is FAMU. Jackson State's lost 5 in a row. Mississippi Valley State's lost 8 in a row. In the Western Division, Grambling State 11-4. Prairie View 10-4. Texas Southern 8-5. Southern 8-5. Arkansas Pine Bluff 3-12. Wow, they've had it tough. Coach Carlos James got to check in on him. They've lost 4 in a row, and then Alcorn 2-12. Lost 4 in a row. So if the baseball tournament started today, Charles, FAMU, Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, and Jackson State are in. Grambling State, Prairie View, Texas Southern, and Southern are in. But, of course, that is if it were in today. But that is not the case. So, some important series coming up, Charles. You have a comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, we talk about Jackson State, and I did comment on this a moment ago, but Jackson State's no lock to make the tournament. Alabama A&M at 3-11 is a game behind them. And so if Jackson State does not make the tournament, that's going to make the Jacksonians a little more antsy and a little bit more aggravated. Yeah. Because you think Jackson State is a team that should be in the top 4, and they very well might not be there. But, I think on the Western side, I mean, clearly you look at Alcorn, And let me say this. You asked the question last week about what Braves fans think. Last week we had a program honoring the late coach Willie Rat McGowan Sr. and his wife, Dr. Doris McGowan. There were a bunch of former baseball players and alums there, and they rallied their support behind Reggie Williams. They understand, and this is his first really true season. He came in August in his first season, so he had no recruiting, he had no fall ball. So this is his first real season. So I do see light there. I do see glimpses of good things. We've got to get better. We got to get a little bit more depth. We got to get a little bit more of everything. But I think he has the program looking in the right direction. So, I think the Braves are going to make the tournament. It's going to be really tough at this point. We're 7 out in the loss column for 4th place. We're 6 out. So we're 6.5 games out of the 4th spot. We got Southern coming in. You still got to play Texas Southern at home. We got to go to Texas Southern at the end of the year. Who knows? But it doesn't look good if you look at the math. But I think, on the western side, just look at Grambling and Prairie View. There was some griping about Antoine Riggins, the head coach at Prairie View a few years ago. Was he going to be able to get the job done? And you see where Prairie View is, a half game out of first place. Mike Robb's teams have slipped a little bit, but they're sneaky. In the tournament, they're sneaky. They're going to find a way to make somewhat of a deep run in the tournament. And I think he's done enough where, Dr. Granger doesn't necessarily have to look at doing anything with the baseball program there, because Mike Robb, he did it at Prairie View. He did it at Texas Southern. He had some bumps along the way, but when they're really good, they're really good. So I think this just may be a rebuilding year for them. So there's a lot of moving pieces in baseball. It is disappointing for Alcorn. It is disappointing for UAPB. You look at Alabama A&M, they've struggled, and then Valley, they still have a shot. They got to go to Jackson for a 3-game series here coming up, and that's going to probably determine whether they get in. And I think, Coach Barty there is going to do a good job at Valley. I think they're a team that can steal a lot of bases. They're one of the nation's leaders there. So I think he's got his foot on the ground, and I think Valley, and he told me when we played him recently that we're going to be a lot better in year 2. So I think there's a lot of light for SWAC baseball. I think the old traditionals, the old fogies, the Jacksons, the Southerns, it's been a stumble. But then you got a bunch of other teams that are looking good. And look at Florida A&M. They're a team that made a little bit of a run in the tournament last year. Bama State, you expect them to be there. Bama State a half game out of first. And then Cookman, Bethune-Cookman. Remember in the MEAC, Coach Melendez won, 11 or 12 MEAC titles, and that program's back up there again. So there's a lot to look forward to in baseball. And I'm just looking to see how it's gonna wrap up here with about a month left in the regular season. But the old stalwarts, Coach, the Southerns and the Jacksons, Carlos, are definitely struggling, and we'll see if they get it together.
Hopefully they will. I'm going to take a quick timeout. Scheduled next to talk with Jim Kleinpeter. Southern University spring football wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. They got a recruiting weekend. Right now, they're still looking to add some pieces to head into the 2023 football season. Jim Kleinpeter coming up next. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes, even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. Number 15?
Never not working.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Head & Shoulders scalp shield, never not working.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield. Never not working.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High-quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they want to tab, I'ma do the dab, yeah.
Stillman College is an HBCU in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where we prepare students for a different world. Stillman is a college of distinction for last year and this year. Our largest majors are business and biology, followed closely by psychology, criminal justice, and history for the pre-law, communications, English, and religion. Our newest degree programs are in the Department of Computational Sciences, which covers cybersecurity, data analytics, and math. The Biomedical Academy prepares students for competitive entry into health professions and graduate programs. We have established summer biomedical research internships with major research institutions, such as the University of Alabama, Drexel and Temple Universities in Philadelphia, the Salk Institute in San Diego, California, and the universities of Florida, Indiana, and Iowa. We became creative with social distancing and masks for the pandemic. Our students enjoy movie nights at the stadium and the new Melissa and Davis Legacy Courtyard, where you can eat and enjoy friends. We have the Divine Nine Greek letter organizations, student government leadership, and ambassadors. Our small class sizes, nurturing faculty, and friendly environment let you know that Black Lives Matter at Stillman College each and every day. Applications are free. Sign up at discover.stillman.edu. Complete the contact card and apply today. Stillman College, where we prepare students for a different world.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like really loves.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like.
Okay, hold on.
What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Now, you can live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant-quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes, even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. Number 15?
Never not working!
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Head & Shoulders scalp shield, never not working.
Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Want to remind you, you can hear all of the BCSN Pod Zone, which is available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Like, rate, review, and share where you can. Let's try this in a second. We're working to get Jim Kleinpeter on the show. Charles, we're going to switch gears and talk a little Southern University football, spring football news, upgrades. That's what Southern's looking for. You've got some spring games and Grambling going on today. So, you know, it's a time of year now that everyone is pretty much ending their spring practices with their spring game.
Yep, that is the case. We had, of course, ours was a few weeks ago, Jackson State, you know, a lot of anticipation there. And so you're looking at, you know, doing a lot of different things with your spring game. And I'm really anxious to see, you know, how far these coaches at these other programs go. You know, I was talking with our coach, our defensive coordinator, Cedric Thomas. I posted that interview and how he looks at spring practice. It's a good showpiece for your fans to see, what you're going to be looking like for the most part in the fall. But you also want to be healthy too coming out of the spring. And so I'm anxious to see, what Grambling's looking like. Hugh Jackson's bringing in a lot of different pieces. Calvez is going to be his quarterback, it appears. And so how Grambling will round out into shape in that Western Division. They had a lot of disappointment last year, clearly. Sometimes wish they didn't play well. But I think for Southern University, Coach Dooley talked about his quarterback situation. Southern is stocked at the running back position. That defense was really good, especially in the Bayou Classic last year. So this is year 2 there of the Eric Dooley era, and I think so far so good with all the hires and a lot of local flavor, Louisiana flavor, and I think it's just a matter now of staying healthy, making sure players do what they're supposed to do in the classroom and off the field, because this is a dead period for a lot of these football players. It's not a lot to do but to stay in the weight room, stay sharp, go to class, keep yourself eligible as you get ready for summer and the fall. Because this, as we know, and I'm learning this, Carlos, in football, we talk about football all year long, right? But these players, once the spring ends, what happens? You got to go to class, and you got to, stay sharp and stay ready, but you're not doing a lot of live stuff. So I'm anxious to see how that goes in the offseason. But a lot of anticipation for Southern University in terms of what's going to happen this upcoming season. And I think the fans are excited, getting to the SWAC championship game last year, winning the Western Division. But I think for the Jaguar Nation, I think it felt incomplete because there was a lot of talent out there to be able to do a lot better than the way it turned out to be. You got in, you won the Western Division. You were one of 4 teams that had a crack at it, and you got it done in the Bayou Classic. But now you want more. You deserve more. You're thirsty for more. So we'll see how that rounds out as you get ready for the season. And SWAC Media Day, which is coming up here in a few months.
July 25th. Let's see if we Melanie, let us know if we can get Jim. If not, we'll have to try again another time. Having a situation with Jim Kleinpeter. But when you look at the Southern football team, they're still trying to add pieces, and that's what Jim article was talking about. They had a recruiting, some recruits in this weekend. Some D linemen, some offensive linemen. Also, I talked to quarterback coach Willie Totten. They're still, if they can add pieces in the quarterback room, they're looking to do that. So Southern, they're looking to fill out that roster. And you look and you see all of the teams in college football. They're looking, to add pieces. And once again, it is just the state that we're in. I talk to parents all the time, very concerned. Their kids, male, female, boy, girl, young lady, young man, they're looking for, scholarships. And I was talking with someone this past week. You have to be balanced with this approach. Some from the high school level, some from the JUCO. But let's just be honest, a transfer portal got over 6,000 athletes in there. It is looked upon by some as the Great Awakening. But I kind of take a look at it that it's good and bad. Because you're looking at I looked at an article this week. A lot of the FBS teams are having their spring games. A lot of those kids are going in the portal, the back end of that talent. And guess what? A lot of times they're looking to FCS. So take it with a grain of salt. Everyone is looking into it. Everyone's trying to find pieces in that transfer portal. But you better do your homework. And then you mentioned it earlier from an APR standpoint. You got to really invest in those people that you're bringing in, and you got to know them well because you don't want to get in trouble with the APR. And most teams in this conference, they've dealt with it. I know it's Southern University, Texas Southern, Alabama State. They've all dealt with it. So, that's not a good place to be. So that's the way I look at that with the portal. It's good, but it also can be deadly for you. And so we shall see. Melanie, are we going to get a chance to get Jim Kleinpeter? Well, she'll let me know. I
Yeah,
I
I'll just make
apologize.
this comment, Carlos.
Go ahead,
I
Charles.
think with the transfer portal, and let's start at the top at the FBS level. There's a lot of coaches that's under a lot of pressure to win right now. And that's what the portal has done is it allows you to elevate your talent. There's a lot of talent out there, a lot of talent being plucked from the portal. Coaches under pressure to win. When you're making $3, $4, $5 million a year, your assistant coach is making good money. You've got to continuously win at a high level. So there's pressure there. There's pressure even at our schools and at the SWAC schools in terms of winning. Maybe not right now, but there's pressure to build the talent base back up. Look at what left at Jackson State. Look at what TC Taylor has to deal with. Even though I think this year, I think he's fine, but you read every day that, and unfortunately, I hate to see this at any of our schools, players transferring out, hitting the portal, but it's just the reality that we're in today. You see TC Taylor's having to deal with players that are hitting the portal. We've had a couple of players on the defensive side hit the portal. You see it all over the place, and it's just the nature of the beast. And then as you recover, as you get players from the portal, you have to do your due diligence and your homework on those players that you're trying to get from the portal that you're looking at. I talked with our defensive coordinator, Cedric Thomas, the other day. I interviewed him during a baseball game, and they do their homework on a lot of these transfers. And he even said they're even looking at high school kids, which was kind of refreshing because you don't hear it that much anymore, especially with the portal being so stocked. So I do think at our level, the SWAC, I think SWAC coaches are kind of doing more of their due diligence on some of these players that they're looking at in the portal. They're in the portal for a reason. Either they didn't get the time or something else has happened or something else has happened. I think you're seeing more of that. And I think when you're looking at trying to win right now, I think some of our coaches are trying to do that, but I think they understand they have to do it respectfully and responsibly. And I think you're seeing some of that, especially at our schools. Fred McNair talks about it all the time. We're just not going to pluck a player out of the portal for the sake of plucking a player out of the portal. We're going to do our homework. And I think you're seeing more and more SWAC schools do it, and I hope they continue to do it. Because like you said, Carlos, a quick fix isn't always the answer. Sometimes you have to build from the bottom up instead of from the top down. So we will see, with the portal being stocked, we'll see how Southern and the rest of the schools do. I think Bethune-Cookman's going to look pretty tough because they're behind the 8 ball. I think Valley's going to look at the portal because their coach was hired late. Bethune-Cookman's coach was hired late, so they may be a little bit more aggressive in the portal than some of these other schools that have already, with coaches already there. But I think for the most part, I think coaches are going to take kind of a wait-and-see approach and trying to see what these players are like before they decide to grab them out of the portal.
Yeah, and you got a lot of pressure. I understand that. You got a lot of pressure as far as you got to win. And say this, it seems like, and some may disagree, but when we saw Coach Sanders come in and the success they had, it seemed like everybody they want to try to use that blueprint. And that blueprint made for everybody. He turned over the team each and every year. And you're even seeing it now where he's at now in Colorado. They're turning over the roster. I mean, and I'm like, hey, let's just put a break on that. Still do things the fundamental way. You build the program up. You get players in. Coaching is still a premium, being fundamentally sound. And we saw what South Carolina State did. We saw what North Carolina Central did. Nobody gave them a chance in those ball games. But guess what it showed? Still coaching matters. And both teams were physical and they were fundamentally sound. That's the way you go. And then you add pieces from the JUCO route. Then you can't go in the transfer portal. But you live by the portal, you're going to die by the portal. And you've got to have a mixture. But being fundamentally sound and coaching, again, matters. But that's the state, Charles, and just my opinion. When that happened, everybody in the conference, I think, panicked. And maybe not with the coaches, but let me be more specific with the fans and the alums. It's like, okay, no. After that happened, you've got to win championships and you got to win them right now or else. But that's not every person, but I kind of run across that. The pressure to win has been upped 1,000 degrees now. Let's just take a breath, calm down, and let's get back to basic football where coaching matters. A staff that helps, that matters. Because certain things are not going to change. Football is still football. You got to improve. And at the end of the day, when you got a player that's come in from high school, matriculate through their career, they've gotten better as a person and a player, specifically a player, and they've been successful and they help the program. But this quick fix attitude, my goodness, I think it's going to ruin it. It's going to ruin it if they're not careful.
Well, let's look at football and let's look at the quarterback position. The most important position on the field is quarterback, right? So name me one quarterback that's been in a SWAC program for 4 years from beginning to end. I can name one right off the bat. He was right here on this campus. His name was John Gibbs, 4-year starter in this league.
How about the young man from University of Arkansas Pine Bluff? That's another one that's been in the league. Yeah, I know he's from New Orleans, Louisiana. I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah.
Andrew Body looks like he'll be through 4 years. When you look at Southern, Austin Howard, he came through. But now it's totally different. I mean, I get it, the pressure to win, but some things are fundamental, and you know how they say a foundation. You got to have a great foundation. Even if you're talking about sports, you're talking about building a house. If that foundation is not solid, you don't have a solid house. And it just seems after that happened, Coach Sanders came in, had some success. Everybody just went. Well, when I say everybody, but from the fan base point of view, they have really went from 1 to 100 in a snap.
Well, I think that was because of the immediate success that he had. Remember, he was hired in August. He's officially on contract in December, and a couple of months later, with the COVID year, that's when they played. And yeah, they won. They beat Grambling for the first time in 8 years and all that. And, they stumbled down the stretch in that COVID year. But then in year 2, you see what he's done. And then the year after that, and then he's gone. So I think as players and as fans, we kind of live in the moment. We don't think that far ahead. So in that moment when Coach Sanders was there, Jackson was winning and at a pretty good clip. So there was this anxiety from fans, including ours. And I know coaches, they might not admit it. And ADs, they may not admit it, that we got to get this thing done almost as quickly as Jackson did. And so you had this rush to try to elevate your talent. Some fell short, but you felt like you had to do it because a team like Jackson State was dominating in SWAC football at that time. So the humanistic element, the pressure to win, not only from coaches, players, ADs, there's pressure because when football doesn't do well, who gets the axe? The football coach, assistant coaches, and then it trickles to the AD. And so now if you're an AD, you got to find a coach that's going to match what Coach Sanders was doing. Although he didn't last long enough to be able to do a whole lot, he did enough. He won a couple of championships and he's gone now, but I think we live in the moment. So I think that's just kind of where we are. We're a copycat. When one team does it, other teams are going to try to do the same thing to emulate that success. And they won at a high level. And so other programs were trying to do the same thing almost in the same quick time frame. Doesn't always happen. Sometimes lightning strikes and it happens quickly, but most of the time it doesn't. But what have you got to lose? You have to try, or else you're going to have a program dominate. Because who knows? If Coach Sanders was still there, let's just say he's still at Jackson State, they would be the odds-on favorite to win it again with Shador and Shiloh and adding more talent and all that. But he's not. So now you got players leaving, some going to Colorado. You got TC Taylor trying to get it done. So I just think we're just, as fandom, as fans, as coaches, you're in that moment. And so in the moment, you see Jackson's running away with it, and how they're doing it, you're trying to emulate and trying to do some of the same types of things by bringing in transfers. Does it work? Yes. Can it not work? Yes. But by not trying, that's not going to happen either. And yes, high school freshmen in college or high school seniors are going to be left behind. That's just kind of where we are right now. But I think the pressure to win, and hey, I think this is just where we are. And as long as the portal is going to be the portal, I think this win now mentality and trying to get players out is going to continue. Whether it works or not, you have to try, or else as a coach, you're not going to have a job.
Well, as we get ready to close out this segment, I would caution us that programs have won. It's not like they've always been losing. They've got a history. Southern, Alcorn, Jackson State. You know, they did have good times before Coach Sanders got there, just for the record. And they will have success afterwards. You know, you say in the moment, but the moment doesn't last a long time. And so even being consistent in winning, we're talking about football, but basketball, baseball, our schools have history, and they have a good history. They have won, and that's the thing. But yeah, you're talking about win now, in the moment, right now. That's how fans are. I hear it every day. I get text message. You know, you're looking. You remember the old analogy? Have everyone heard about the dog and the bone? He sees his reflection in the water, and he has one bone, but he's being greedy. He wants two. He drops that bone, and instead of having the one consistent one, he wanted two. Now he has what? None.
None.
So just kind of keep that in mind. You know, calm down. If you're so concerned about watching some other programs or another program in particular, you have the fun of looking at your program. You know, having success, having some failures, it happens. You don't win a title this year. There's always next year. Now, if you don't win a title in 5, 6, 7, 8 years, well, then I can't help you. I can't save you. But Charles, I know you have to go. It's after 12. It's 12:03 Central Standard Time. But we'll be able to talk next week about those changes in football. It's going to be very interesting. Follow up on it. The clock will run now continuously. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I'm still torn on what happens. But quickly, if you want to respond, go ahead.
Well, all these rules, Carlos, in every sport, you're seeing it. I think people are trying to shorten these games and try to keep fans interested. I think you're seeing it in college football. You're going to talk about the rules. Baseball with the pitch clock, basketball with the reset of the shot clock. I think you're seeing it in all phases and all sports, trying to keep fans engaged and interested, trying to shorten these games. And I think that's kind of the reason why we're seeing this in college football, to shorten these games. Because yes, as a broadcaster, I'm in, and Jim will probably talk about it. He's in the booth for 3 hours, and these games are dragging on. And I think all these rules for all these different sports are to serve one purpose: to shorten these games, to get fans in and out, and to keep them more engaged. So I think you're going to see more of it. I think the college football game is going to be just like the NFL game at some point. After every first down, after every whatever, the clock is going to keep on rolling. In the NFL, you pick up a first down, you stay in bounds, the clock continues to move. I think you're going to see that in college football as well. Even in high school basketball, I think you're going to have a shot clock and all that. Some states they do, some they don't. So I think all these rules are to shorten these games, to keep fans engaged, and to get them in and out. That's just my opinion.
Well, I've had some people already say cut the commercials out back. That'll help.
Not gonna happen.
speed the game
Too
up.
much money.
I know. And when you look at it, college athletics is truly changing. And I don't know, Charles. It's heading toward. I mean, with the transfer portal engaged now, free agency has come to college athletics. Amateurism. We'll have to look up that word. I know you have to adapt, but wow, it's going to be interesting. Charles, we'll talk with you next week.
Appreciate it, Carlos.
All right, take it easy. We'll take a quick time out. When we come back, visit with Willa Brown right here on the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield, never not working.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High-quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they want to tab, I'ma do the dab, yeah.
Edmond College is an HBCU in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where we prepare students for a different world. Stillman is a college of distinction for last year and this year. Our largest majors are business and biology, followed closely by psychology, criminal justice, and history for the pre-law, communications, English, and religion. Our newest degree programs are in the Department of Computational Sciences, which covers cybersecurity, data analytics, and math. The Biomedical Academy prepares students for competitive entry into health professions and graduate programs. We have established summer biomedical research internships with major research institutions, such as the University of Alabama, Drexel and Temple Universities in Philadelphia, the Salk Institute in San Diego, California, and the universities of Florida, Indiana, and Iowa. We became creative with social distancing and masks for the pandemic. Our students enjoy movie nights at the stadium and the new Melissa and Davis Legacy Courtyard, where you can eat and enjoy friends. We have the Divine Nine Greek letter organizations, student government leadership, and ambassadors. Our small class sizes, nurturing faculty, and friendly environment let you know that Black Lives Matter at Stillman College each and every day. Applications are free. Sign up at discover.stillman.edu. Complete the contact card and apply today. Stillman College, where we prepare students for a different world.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Joined now by Willa Brown. Willa, Good morning to you, sir.
Yes.
Well, good afternoon, actually. I
Good
forgot you're in
afternoon
Eastern
over
Standard
here. Good
Time.
afternoon. Good afternoon.
How's it going, Will?
I can't complain, Carlos. Everything's everything. No complaints.
Well,
No major ones,
you're.
anyway.
I understand you are a former athlete on the collegiate level. The NCAA committee has recommended, and it looks like it's going to be adopted. Trying to run the clock on first downs afterwards to shorten the games. Your thoughts on that? I mean, college athletics, it's just changing, right?
It is, Carlos. But I'm old school kind of guy, and I'm a traditionalist. So I'm one of those. Let's leave the game the way it is, and let's play the game and enjoy the
Mhm.
game for what it's worth. Sometimes we kind of outsmart ourselves. I think we try to do things for the sake of appeasing this group or appeasing that group. Yeah, I don't know that there's anything wrong with the game the way that it is, Carlos. You know that when you go to a football game, 9 times out of 10, it's going to take 2.5, maybe 3 hours for that game to be done. I mean, it's just a fact of life. And just shorten this and shorten that. I know we live in this fast food society. We like to go through the drive-through instead of going in and sitting down at the restaurant, that sort of thing. But I'm a traditionalist. Leave it alone and let's play it and enjoy it for what it is.
Hey, you got my vote. This recommendation, once approved in April by the NCAA Playing Rules Oversight Panel, the rules will be implemented for the 2023 season, with the committee monitoring how they impact the game, specifically the number of plays run in each contest. Some other things that they have initially approved: no consecutive timeouts, untimed penalties, and replay adjustments. Now, no consecutive timeouts. This most impacts field goal attempts when opposing coaches call multiple timeouts in order to ice the kicker. So that will have an impact on that. Rule violations that occur with no time on the clock in the first and third quarters will carry over to the next quarter, thus limiting untimed downs to the end of the halves. And then check this one out. Replay adjustments. During games in which there isn't a replay official in the booth, on-field officials will have optional replay in which they can use available video after a coach's challenge. Wow, that's interesting. But the big one is an attempt to control the flow of the game and provide more consistency for in-game management. It's going to be the biggest changes regarding first downs. Currently, the clock stops on first downs until the ball is officially spotted by officials. The new rule will keep the clock running on first down, except during the final 2 minutes of the second and fourth quarters. This will emulate the current rule in the NFL. So there you have
Well,
it.
Carlos, I think for the most part, I think things have been speeding up as it is. I mean, most of your teams go no
Mhm.
huddle. They go straight to the line almost after every play. They're calling plays from the line of scrimmage. I mean, I don't see how all this is going to, affect things. And, as opposed to, the ice and the kicker and all that sort of thing. You can kick it, Carlos. I mean, you call 2 timeouts in a row, and I'm a true kicker. If
You're
that's
going
how you
to
want to
make
spend
it.
your timeouts, then fine. I'm gonna knock it down. But like I said, it just seems like a whole lot of unnecessary things. But that's the way of the world, I guess. And you have to adapt and adjust and be able to move forward from there. Now, how many more assistant coaches are they going to allow us to have? Because now you're probably going to need a coach to watch the clock,
Game
or
management.
something of that nature. So yeah, so I think we call ourselves taking away from something, but we're always adding to something also.
And and Wheeler, me and Charles was discussing, and I think maybe we have a different opinion on the transfer portal. You have a period now where they open it up like twice a year, and the success that you have, I still believe, comes down to coaching and having a foundation. And we've talked about it before that student athletes, coming from the high school level, talking to their parents, they're very concerned about having the opportunities to get a scholarship, because we're in
Hmm.
this moment now where it's a quick fix, and there's we've talked about a lot of pressure. And Coach Carlos James, the baseball coach at University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, he was very transparent. He says, given the choice put before him to recruit someone out of the portal, and albeit he coaches baseball, a freshman that says has 1 year on his belt and is in the transfer portal, or a sophomore, he'll take that over, building the program the traditional way.
Hmm.
I I tend to disagree with that. I think you have to really be careful, and you have to uh, mix and match to keep your program going. But I still say the basic foundation is between student athlete from the high school level, and then you may add pieces in via JUCO and the transfer
Hmm.
portal. But the main objective to me is you know that fundamentally foundation with the high school student athletes transitioning to the collegiate level.
And I think it's always better, Carlos, when you're building from the ground up. There's no doubt about that. I think the NCAA has opened a can of worms, and they're trying to put the stopper back in the bottle now, but it's too
Hmm.
late. They've opened this thing up so wide now to the point where, almost every coach in the country is pretty much relying on it in some way, shape, or form. And it's almost like you can't stop it now. And as we've been stating previously, the high school kids are really the ones that are hurting on this. uh, it's probably a good thing in terms of the D2 and D3 schools, because now they're getting an opportunity at some high school kids that they probably normally would not have gotten an
Hmm.
opportunity to speak with and to get on campus, that sort of thing. So, but at the same time, you know, those same kids who are probably maybe D1 talent or lower level D1 talent, now they're being forced to go the D2 and the D3 route. And, so while it's good for some of the schools, it's not necessarily good for the kids. It's really taking something away from them. And, our presidents and our ADs, everybody's in the win now mode. So whatever it takes to, get it done right now, they want it done. And so it's a trickle down effect to these coaches. They feel the same way. If they're going to have an opportunity to maybe get that next job or get that next opportunity, they know they need to come in and win right away. So, the old model of, giving a coach 3, 4 years to get it done, that sort of thing. Seems like all that's kind of, going out the window also. Coaches are feeling more and more pressure to win right now. And, it's coming at a high cost. It is. Because, once
Hmm.
you dip into that transfer portal, it's almost like you have to keep dipping on a regular basis. It's habit forming, ain't no doubt about that. And, but bottom line is you never know what you're getting. If you don't have a history, with that particular kid, or know somebody that knows somebody that knows that kid that can, vouch for the character of that kid, or, what have you, then you really, really don't know what you're getting. And nowadays, you're not spending enough time recruiting those portal kids to where you can get a true feel for whether or not that kid is going to really and truly fit into your program. So you flying blind in a lot of ways, but administrators and presidents and alums and the list just goes on and on. They want those winning teams, those championship teams right now. And so the trickle down is the coaches are feeling the pressure, to go out there and try to give the people what they want right now.
And then too, so it's pressure, to win. We've talked about it. The committees recommend certain things, even with the transfer portal. What pressure then gets put on donors? Well, let me be more specific. Alums of i.e. institution, because some of the fans and alum, they expect to win now, but also with that comes the resource question. How many of the alumni are willing to invest more as far as dollars, resources?
And I can
So,
tell you, Carlos, there's not very many, that's for sure.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you get a whole lot of lip service. There's no doubt about that. And this is no knock on those that do give.
Right,
But
right.
it's almost like, you as an administrator or whomever, you need to walk around with a list in your back pocket so that when the phone rings and it's a alum on the other end, that wants to know why you're not winning, that sort of thing. Oh, wait a minute, let me check this list right here and see if your name is on this list of giving right now, that sort of thing. And, nobody wants to hear that part, but I mean, it kind of is what it is. The majority of your complaints, the majority of your gripes and all that sort of thing, coming from people who don't give, Carlos, or they give very, very little. And my motto has always been, if your donation comes with stipulations, okay, I prefer you not to give your money. Just go
Mm,
just go ahead and keep it. Just go ahead and keep it. Because in the long run, I'm gonna come out better. If you just keep your money in your pocket, and keep your thoughts in your pocket also. Because if you give money, it doesn't mean that it gives you carte blanche in terms of hiring or firing or moving this coach or moving that coach, that sort of thing. I mean, we have the metric available to, we know what we're looking for. We know when it's time to, pretty much let a coach go, that sort of thing. We don't need the added pressure of, an influential alum or, something of that nature, adding more fuel to the fire, that sort of thing. Because a lot of times, Carlos, that alum is not in practice every day to see what's going
mhm.
on. That alum is not aware of, the graduation rate, however good it may be, or the APR rate, or, anything such as that. Most of our alums, the only thing that they're caring about is pretty much W's and L's. And, so unless you have the vision to be able to see the intricacies behind the program, I can't afford to allow you to come in and make a decision concerning my programs when the only thing you're seeing is what's been put out there on Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. That's not fair to anybody involved.
So Willer, with that being said, switch gears just a little bit. Earlier in the show, I gave you know Southern University information. Coach Kevin Johnson, he's got he's getting paid more than the previous coach Sean Woods. It's public record. 4 years, 200,000, and he's got incentives. He's also a highlight. He can hire 5 assistants. Got incentives. With you, if you were in that situation, how would you have, I guess, I don't want to say negotiate, but what would be the criteria you would have been looking for to bring in the next basketball coach? And for the record, I like the hire. you know, like my old instructor used to say, everyone right now has A in the class, whether you keep it or not. Depends on you. But I know it's resources, recruiting budgets, what have you. I guess what are your thoughts on just that information I gave you?
I think that uh, the AD did a good job in terms of navigating the waters in terms of making this hire. I can see that he has more control over this hire than he did over the Sean Woods hire. I think hiring Sean, uh, Sean was pretty much an established coach for the most part, that sort of thing. So you kind of had to give him a little bit more leeway than you probably normally would have wanted to. And I think the results wasn't what the AD wanted them to be. So I think with him hiring Kevin Johnson, somebody that he knew, that sort of thing, somebody that he has an opportunity to help mold and shape as a head coach, somebody that he can put some hands on and pull to the side because of the previous relationship that he has with him. I think ultimately the AD has a lot more control, immediate control over the program. I think the contract is a good contract. $200,000 a year, first time head coach, that sort of thing. Full complement in terms of staff. All the little bells and whistles that go along with that sort of thing. I think that was a good contract for everybody involved. It was a good contract for Southern. It was a good contract for Coach Johnson, being a first-time head coach. I think it was a good deal. Everybody won when it came to that. But I think more importantly, the AD now has an opportunity to help shape and mold the program by having this young first-time assistant coach on staff, as opposed to a quote-unquote old dog who had been around the block for a couple of minutes and, was pretty much set in his ways and, things of that nature. So I think the AD made a smart move on this hire.
Because Wheeler, as I'm listening to you, and we have our text messages, our group messages, and a lot of times when you hire a coach, the thing is now what a lot of people talk about is they use the term we got to stop recycling coaches who've been in the conference. Sometimes now they like to have quote unquote fresh blood, someone out of say the SWAC situation as far as they've coached outside the conference. And I understand basketball is basketball. Fundamentals, a coach, if he can coach in this conference, he can coach in that conference pretty much, and even on the high school level. With that being said, is it, in your opinion, good to when you have an opportunity to hire somebody outside of the blueprint with different ideas, fresh ideas? Is that the way to go, or do you hire somebody you're more familiar with? And the term recycling coaches, do you hire in that frame?
I think that's a touchy one there, Carlos. I think we as administrators, we as administrators, and people in general, I think they have a tendency to gravitate more towards the known than the unknown. And it's easier or more comfortable for me if I'm familiar with someone, and I feel a certain way. I feel good about what they bring to the table. They check the boxes, things of that nature. But the comfort level has to be there. Now, how do you get that comfort level, Carlos, if you're just meeting somebody for the first time, or you're interviewing them for 2 hours, that sort of thing? is that really enough time to get a feel for whether or not I can trust this person with my program for the next 4 or 5 years? Or do
Mm-hmm.
I really feel that that's enough time for me to have known this person well enough to trust this person with my kids, with my student athletes? You know, I sometimes you have to rely on, information that you get from other people, that sort of thing. And, a lot of times, you're listening to people that you trust in order to get a feel for a particular candidate, that sort of thing. But, ultimately, it's not enough time in the process, I think, to where you can definitively 9 times out of 10 go with a total outsider, somebody that you have no knowledge of, but somebody that you are just meeting for the first time, or you're just interviewing for the first time, or you spend a couple of hours trying to get to know. If I sit down with somebody, it's almost impossible for me to hitch my wagon to a person that I've just known for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And ultimately, as an athletic administrator, I mean, you're putting your rep out there also. These
Mm-hmm.
hires are a direct reflection on you. So if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down swinging, but I'm also going to, pretty much going to go down with somebody in my corner, that I know has my back, that I have their back, that I know what they bring to the table. I know about, their level of integrity. I know what they stand for, that sort of thing. And I feel comfortable with my kids around that person because I have a prior type of relationship of some way, shape, and form with that particular person. So I don't look at it as recycling. I mean, I'm old enough now to where I guess somebody would call me recycled ultimately. But at the end of the day, you can call it recycling if you like, but I like to say that, we're relying on past experiences, we're relying on, knowledge of a particular person, the values that they bring to the table, so forth and so on, and then ultimately we feel comfortable enough with what they bring to the point where, we want to entrust our young men and young women, with these people. And we feel that ultimately we're going to have the kind of input into our programs that we need to have. And at the end of the day, I can probably speak more frankly with someone that I have a prior
Mm-hmm.
relationship with, or somebody that I know. I can walk into that coach's office and say, look, coach, on the for real here, this is what, we're looking at, this is what we need to do, that sort of thing, as opposed to walking in somebody's office and pretty much having to tiptoe around a particular issue or, something to that effect. So it has its advantages, it has its disadvantages, but 9 times out of 10, Carlos, we all are in the mode of hiring someone that we know something about.
Right.
I
Right.
think in athletics, there are very few what I call cold calls in athletics. If
Mm-hmm.
I don't know Carlos Brown, 9 times out of 10, I know somebody that knows somebody that knows Carlos Brown, and one of those somebodies that I know, I trust, I have a relationship with, I know they're going to give me the skinny on what Carlos Brown is about, that sort of thing. And then ultimately, I'm going to have to make that call or make that decision in terms of whether or not Carlos Brown is the person that I want to entrust my program with. Yeah, and but it's almost
Mm-hmm.
impossible, like I said, Carlos, to get a feel for somebody. If you just sat down with them for an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours for the interview process, or you did a Zoom call for an interview, Then you brought him in on campus for like maybe an hour or 2 hours or what have you. And then all of a sudden, you're supposed to know everything there is about that particular person to the point where, you feel that you can entrust this person with, your programs, with, the welfare of your student athletes, that sort of thing. It's a gamble. It is. So I can understand why the AD went the route that he went. And, I think he has a little bit more control over everything now. And, not to say that he is going to interfere with Coach Johnson in terms of, what he's planning on doing for the program, but I'm sure that their ideas mesh, and that while it's going to be Coach Johnson's program, he's going to have the full support of the athletic director, and the athletic director has the utmost of confidence in him. This is a young guy I can grow, I can help develop. I've been around before, so I know the nuances and, that sort of thing. So I think it's easier for everybody involved that it's gone the way that it's gone. Just my thought.
Yeah, I appreciate those thoughts because also, and I don't know, some people think it's maybe an advantage. Couple examples: Coach Roman Banks, I still refer to him as Coach. AD at Southern University, basketball coach on a collegiate level. So, is it an advantage to have? And we got a couple other examples. Um, Coach, Coach Granger, Kevin Granger at Texas Southern, with a basketball background. Does that give a basketball coach a little more leeway that the person that hired him has a basketball background?
I think it doesn't help. I mean, it doesn't hurt. Excuse me. That's for sure. It doesn't. It
Mhm.
doesn't hurt that there's somebody in one of those offices that I know that has been through the things that I'm going through right now. And I think just having an athletic director with coaching experience, period, does wonders for
Gotcha.
your entire athletic program, not just that particular sport in which they coach. But if I'm the basketball coach and my athletic director coach college basketball, then I know that he is intimately involved in knowing the things that I'm going through. Me having coached, I know when to push a button on a particular coach. I know, that there are times like after a tough game, that sort of thing, then you don't want to go in that room. Don't go in that room. Let the coach kind of, go through the emotions that he or she are going through, and let it kind of simmer down a little bit, that sort of thing. Where if you have an administrator that hasn't coached before, they might just want to barge in there and just talk about, what went on during the game and, this, that, and the other. And, so, I mean, so I think it's to Coach Johnson's advantage that Coach Banks has been there in that particular program as the coach of that particular program, and that's going to be a valuable resource for him, no doubt about that. And I'm sure Coach Banks won't be one to overstep his boundary, that sort of thing. But I know that he probably feels there's a certain kinship with Coach Johnson, and he's going to feel that, he can talk to this guy and, kind of help guide him through whatever rough spots might be there, that sort of thing. And so I think it's to an advantage to both parties.
We're visiting with Willa Brown. As you can tell, he's he has been a director of athletics and athletic administration, and I always just like to pick his brain and get his opinions on certain topics. Willer, can we hold you over? Take our last break of today's show, and we may just
Sure.
have another guest, and we all can have the conversation together. You're watching the
Sure, no
Carlos
problem.
Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show. You can tell we've added a person. It's been a while. BJ Jones of Inside HBCU Football, along with Willa Brown. BJ, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, fellas.
Hey, be careful. I see you on the road again. Hey, have you ever driven in Baton Rouge lately?
No, not since the football season.
Yeah, okay. I'll have to update you on driving in Baton Rouge. It can be challenging at times, but you being in Atlanta, I'm sure you know how to gather yourself and navigate around the city. Speaking of navigation, BJ, a lot of spring games have come and gone. As far as spring football, you got Grambling State having theirs today as we speak. What are kind of some of your thoughts on some of the teams in the conference now as they head to the fall season?
Well, the biggest thing, man, is I think what everybody's seen has been the transfer portal. It's like the floodgates opened up on last Saturday when the portal officially opened. And of course, we have that 15-day window where kids are going to jump out and schools are going to, pull some kids in. So it's basically just trying to see what that roster is going to look like as we head into the fall. But, with Grambling today, what is Grambling? What is their identity? You saw they went and got Miles Crawley, a quarterback from Alabama State. I think they've definitely upgraded in that position. This is that the missing cog to that offense. Defensively, they were pretty good. But offense was their Achilles heel a year ago. And this, Hugh Jackson and that staff, do they take a step forward this year? And I think, last week you had Jackson State. People wanted to see what does Jackson State look, post Deion Sanders. Down at Southern, do the Jaguars build off that Western Division title, or do they slide back down to the rest of the pack? So I think there's a lot of questions across the conference this spring that I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think we're going to get a lot of those questions answered during the spring.
Mm-hmm. And Wheeler, DJ, and a lot of times people ask me how about the spring game. I say one, it's vanilla. They don't show a whole lot, and it's also a rebuilding time. And as we look post spring game, as BJ talked about in the Porter, they're looking for hired help. And in that situation, the true identity of this team may not happen to summer camp or fall camp. You agree or disagree?
I agree with that, and maybe that's how it should be, Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some guys are going to get jobs coming out of the spring. And you would hope that you're defining your team, through spring ball. You want to see who's gotten better. You want to see some results from the strength and conditioning programs, that sort of thing. But also kind of exposes some weaknesses that you need to get out there and, kind of find out whether or not you can fill some of those weaknesses like right now through the transfer portal. But, once again, it's a coin flip, so it's like a box of chocolates. You don't know, sometimes you don't know what you're getting. And, so you really have to be mindful of that. Some positions you need to go get some help right away, and hopefully through spring ball you can kind of see, what those positions are. I think the flip side of it is that if a kid doesn't play that well during the spring, now they're ready to jump into the transfer portal, that sort of thing, because coach is gonna demote me to the second string. So you find more positions like quarterback, running back, wide receivers, that sort of thing. Those guys are pretty much more apt to kind of jump right into that portal, after spring ball, hoping that there's a greener pasture out there somewhere. So, it has its advantages and disadvantages, I think.
You agree, BJ?
Oh yes, yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be our new normal, Carlos. With this transfer portal, I don't think that we're going to start to see the identities of these teams until fall camp. I think that there are going to be more questions in the spring. It's not going to be like when I played, when you kind of got an opportunity to kind of see what the team was going to be in the spring. I think with this transfer portal, we are headed into not really knowing into summer camp, and to honestly, for some teams, maybe not until maybe mid-September, because it takes those new guys a while to gel when they first come in.
So yeah, we're talking about a chemistry issue. How they blend in together, and so I think, guys, that's again, I've let my feelings be known. Sometimes with the transport portal is advantage that I'll say like Wheeler, and disadvantages. Um, BJ, coming into this fall camp, then what team has the most pressure to succeed? Albeit we know all of the teams have a pressure to win. Who are more of the eyes are going to be on coming into fall camp and the 2023 season?
FAMU, for FAMU or never. FAMU has one of the most winningest teams in HBCU football the last 4 or 5 seasons. But they've done and I think that this year, for FAMU fans, the table is set, the roster is set, and there's no more excuses. So I think for FAMU, the pressure is on one Willie Simmons and the Rattlers down in town.
Now, so I guess I can see maybe football media day, the early April pick. It seems like you. Do you think FAMU will get the nod over Jackson State in the East?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, JSU fans are like Southern fans. They're not going to like that if that happens. But now, and then I'll come back with a follow-up question. In the Western Division, who do you think is going to be predicted to win the West?
Alcorn. I think when you look at that roster that Alcorn brings back, I think he'll either be Alcorn or Southern. I think it's going to be close, but I think it's going to be Alcorn.
Because, like last year, I think some Alcornites thought that they should have gotten the nod in the Western Division, but it didn't happen. But then again, for predictions, sometimes they don't turn out the way you you predict. Follow up quickly. Give me a couple of teams to watch in the conference that if things fall right, they may be a representative division in the SWAC championship.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, Carlos. I would have to say, there's a few teams. Alabama State is one. I think the Hornets are going to be solid defensively again. Their question is quarterback. The ceiling for that team last year was quarterback. For everything that we heard about Demetrius Davis, 4-star transfer from Auburn, everything in Texas, he was bad last year. And that limited that football team. So I'm going to say Alabama State is one, and another team that people may not think about is going to be Texas Southern. Texas Southern, with Andrew Body, they had the West wrapped up going to Alabama A&M. Nobody saw them losing that football game, and they lose it. And I think for Texas Southern, they're bringing back a lot of talent. Andrew Body's coming off surgery, but he'll be ready for the fall. I think for Texas Southern and Clarence McKinney, that this has to be the year, because I think this is the last year of Clarence McKinney's contract also. So I think those are two teams that could come out of nowhere and put themselves in championship position.
Last question for you, BJ. When it's all said and done, when we look at a student athlete, a football player, who is a name or a couple of names that stand out that everybody will be talking about after the end of the season?
Jarvion Howard, Alcorn State. I think that he is the best returning running back in the conference. I think he's one of the best backs, not only in the conference, but in the country. I think that young man, if you haven't seen him play, go to YouTube, go watch him. He's an amazing young man to watch him run the football. Eaglin at Alabama A&M, another running back, transferred from Michigan State. One of those big backs that can really carry the load. I think he's another one. Southern has one that missed the entire season last year. And you know where I'm going to go with this one, Carlos. But the guy, man, I can't get Kobe Dillon. I think that's another young man. We saw what he did 2 years ago. Missed the entire year last year. But he and JJ back in that backfield, oh, man, that's going to be dangerous. I think for Florida A&M, it's the defensive back Bowler. I think that he's one of the best, not only in the conference, but in the country. I like that. I really like that young man. Let me see. Niles Gaddy. Niles Gaddy, young man at Jackson State. He's returned, has an NFL body, but we want to see if he can kind of live up to his stature. He had a solid season last year. Didn't look too good in the spring game, to be honest with you. But we can see if he builds off of that nomination last year, and see if he could be, the next defensive player from Jackson State to get drafted.
On that note, BJ, we appreciate the time, man. Look, safe travels. I know you're very active with your daughter and her athletic abilities, but we appreciate the time. Hey, we look forward to talking with you again real soon.
Oh man, appreciate you, Carlos, and man, looking forward to getting this thing cranked up for the season, man. It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, that is correct. Hey, have a great weekend, BJ. We'll talk again real soon.
All right, you too.
All right, and that was BJ Jones of Inside HBCU Football. Uh, Wheeler, of course, football, as Coach Cassim said, it's in the South. It's a holy day of obligation. But when you look at an overall program, I personally like to win every championship if I can. Being a fan, that part of me. But football is the engine. But overall athletic programs, adding in Southern's case, they're adding. Men's tennis back, and then women and men's golf. Hopefully, we'll be able to bring you more information on that. But a director of athletics, as we've talked before, it's a tough job, but I think it's a rewarding job, if I can say so myself. Although you are in the field, and also you have to have just like an athletic competition, a coach. You're the head coach of the athletic department. You need a great staff around you, and to help, and that is so important. And last but not least, having a administrator or supervisor over the athletic department who is a fan, a supporter of athletics. I think you got to have those couple of things, and alumni that helps out and can
Yeah.
do better if they can.
You got to have, like I said, like you just stated, Carlos, the most important aspect of everything that you said is that you have to have buy-in from the top. The president of the university has to not only believe that you can get the job done, they definitely have to have bought in terms of helping to the best of their abilities to help you get the resources that you need to get the job done. They can't be allowed to succumb to the boo birds that are out there that, want you to change coaches every year, that sort of thing. And, I think I read somewhere maybe a couple of years ago where someone said that the most competitive coach on your campus is not the head football coach, it's the president of the university. And that's probably so. That's probably true. Yeah, but it's important that you and the president are on the same wavelength in terms of direction and goal, that sort of thing, and that, like I said, that president has enough confidence in you to allow you to make the decisions necessary to run the programs. And you have to be able to, which is the most difficult thing, survive presidential changes. Like I see Alcorn's president is leaving right now, so it's going to be interesting to see the new president that comes in, whether or not he or she's philosophy will, match that of the, current director of athletics, or do they want to bring in their own person, or what have you. I see Jackson State is getting ready to get a new president also. And, so those uncertainties that go along with that, I'll tell you, from an athletic director point of view, it can play havoc with your mind. There's no doubt about that. And so, I would think that the ADs at those particular institutions right now kind of walking on eggshells a little bit, and want to make sure I's and T's are dotted and crossed, and hopefully they get somebody that sees the direction that they're going in and likes the direction that they're going in and want to keep that continuity, that sort of thing. So, it's interesting, Carlos. No doubt about it.
Yeah, because years ago when I was much younger, I would make this statement. If you are a president or chancellor slash president chancellor, most of your um, energy is dealing with the academic side and
Mm-hmm.
helping raise money for the university, and they don't have the time, or they shouldn't have a whole lot of investment in running the athletic department. Well, that was a younger Carlos Brown saying that. Now he kind of massages the message and says that the AD and the president, they have to be on the same page. They
They
have
do,
to.
definitely. Mm-hmm.
And those two institutions you mentioned, um, getting new presidents, we'll be watching to see what happens. But a lot of times I did an experiment when I was at Southern University. You asked the students who was the football coach. About 95% of them knew. About 70% knew who the AD was. But when you said who was the president, believe it or not, a lot of them didn't know. And some of the old school guys were like, you know what? That is not a good thing in a way, because there's always been a kind of like a little competition between the most recognizable person on campus versus the head administrator. And I can share some stories, just talking some of them from A.W. Mumford on. The football coach had some power, and there's always kind of been that little clash. But hopefully it's better now. But
It doesn't
like
need to
any
be that way,
relationship,
Carlos. It really
no,
doesn't. It doesn't need to be like that. Yeah, it doesn't.
gotta be the tag team champions. You gotta
Yes,
work together.
yes,
But
yes.
some stories have been told, and we often talk about some things as far as the model. At one time they said the model for athletics and the business model needed to be changed. It was a 90s model, and now we're at 2020s, 2021, 2022, 23. But I think you always have to adjust. You know, look at
Mm-hmm.
things that are not working and try to improve on it. Things that are working,
Mm-hmm.
you still nurture them and keep them. So it's just interesting. Athletic administration. Will, closing comments.
Well, as you just stated, we all have our issues uh, from the HBCU point of view. There's no doubt about that. But we all don't have the same answer. Yeah, I think that there's no cookie cutter type of recipe or anything such as that can solve our problems. I think while we may have the same problem, which is the lack of funding, there are probably different reasons on almost every campus as to why that's the case. And there are probably different solutions uh, in terms of trying to solve those particular problems. So if one person says, well, I have the answer to all the suffering of all the HBCUs from a financial point of view, you probably really only have the answer to about maybe 15 to 20% of those that are suffering. Because like I said, everybody's plight is different in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And Carlos, we've been taught, and it's been ingrained in us at the HBCU level that, we don't put our business out there in the street. And that's a good lesson for the most part. But it's bad in a way that a lot of times the problems on our campus go unsolved because for whatever reason, we don't put those issues out there on the street. So it's a delicate balance between what you put out there and what you don't put out there, with the hopes that at some place in time, somebody may have an answer or two that can help out. So, forums like yours allow these things to kind of get out there a little bit, which is great. And so, like I said, it remains to be seen moving forward, how we deal with our issues at our particular campuses.
Well, we appreciate the time as always. I know when I call, you answer the bell most of the time, and I want to say I appreciate it. Um, want to thank everybody who tuned in today. Melody producing today's show. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Coles Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until that time, as always, peace and God bless.
All right.